All right, let's do this. Welcome one, welcome all to Screams from the Library, the show where a middle-aged, non-binary manic depressive talks only about what they like, about a different horror movie each episode, because there's enough negativity in the world already, and horror movies are awesome. Coming to you on many major podcast platforms with startling irregularity. I'm your host, Junk Shop, from the Junk Shop Library YouTube channel and all kind of other stuff. And today, we are talking about one of my favorite horror movies of recent years that anybody else also saw. We are talking about Damien Leone's Terrifier 3. Yes, we are. The time has come. The time is now. Apologies straight out the gate for any weird mechanical noises in the background. I am in the car, and it is a heat index of 107 degrees right now, so I've got the air conditioner going. Don't come for me. So, I guess the first thing I should say, I am not a fan of Terrifier 1. I really like All Hallows Eve, as twisted and ugly and mean-spirited and unpleasant as it is. I dig it. It is a Halloween horror movie, which are not as common as you would think. You would think Halloween horror movie would be more common, and they're just not. I loved Terrifier 2. And so I had my hopes high going into Terrifier 3. And ladies and gentlemen, brethren and sistren and otheren, I was so right. It is so good. It is a Christmas horror movie. And a good Christmas horror movie, as well as a good horror movie that takes place at Christmas. Now, there's a lot of such things out there. They've been around for a hot minute. Black Christmas, of course, immediately springs to mind in all of its iterations. But a lot of Christmas horror movies, the Christmas is just kind of either there for the contrast, or it just kind of happens to happen then because it's a good way to get lots of family and or strangers in the same place at the same time and make the horrors happen. Terrifier 3, not so much. It happens at Christmas. It puts Art the Clown in a Santa Claus suit and face. It is awesome. Another thing that I really, really like about Terrifier 3 is something that I've seen/heard several people talk about, but always from a slightly different perspective than the way I approach it. And that is its approach to trauma, capital T. To post-traumatic stress disorder, the kind that fucks your shit up and ruins everything. One of the things that I've heard said a couple of times about Terrifier 3 is that some folks feel that either it discounts the trauma or that it introduces the trauma and then just kind of moves past it. And I disagree with the first, and I agree with the second with a caveat. Most of the talk about that aspect of the movie does not seem to me to be coming from people who have PTSD. I could be wrong, and they just are not talking about that because that's not the brand of their whatever format they're talking about it in. I myself do. I have PTSD from a multitude of things, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of what those are. But I'm sensitive to certain environments, and I get flashbacks under the right combination of stimuli, and it's unpleasant. But one of the things that you learn if you're living with PTSD is that you have to acknowledge it, and then you have to live your life anyway. And that's what Sienna does in Terrifier 3. I'm sort of taking it for granted at this point that anyone who's listening to a one-person talk up of Terrifier 3 has probably seen it, or has at the very least seen Terrifier 2. Sienna, the survivor girl in the Valkyrie outfit, who makes it out of Terrifier 2 by the skin of her teeth, starts Terrifier 3 checking out of the mental hospital where she has had to spend a considerable amount of time because of the absolutely grotesque and horrible stuff that she saw and was subjected to over the course of Terrifier 2. We then see, in fairly short order, an example of her flashbacks and guilt-driven hallucinations. And we see one, and it is extreme, and we don't see any more. But she makes it explicitly clear in a speech she gives later on that she sees such things all the time and just has to live her life anyway. And I think this was a very smart choice by the writer-director and creative team not to stuff the movie with jump scares. Is this actually happening, or is this a PTSD flashback or a grief-driven hallucination? I think it was a very wise choice to establish the fact that the character experiences this fairly constantly and has to live her life regardless. I think that was a very smart choice from a filmmaking standpoint and a very savvy choice from a psychology standpoint. The other major point on that topic I do want to touch on is one of my favorite things that happens in the storyline of the movie that we do not actually see. So, if you have not, in fact, seen Terrifier 3 yet, I would encourage you to go to Screambox, where it is streaming free with subscription, or to anywhere it's available to buy or rent and watch it. As soon as this episode is over, do not leave now. Do not leave now. Come back. Come back. But it is a slight spoiler. So, at some point, Sienna realizes that she is going to need the magical sword to combat Art the clown, whatever he is. In order to retrieve the sword, she is going to have to go back to the Terrifier, the spook house where the last act of Terrifier 2 occurs, because the sword is still there. And she makes that decision with a tremor in her voice and a 1,000-yard stare in her eyes. And she goes. Next time we see her, she has the sword and is returning from the Terrifier. And she is covered in schmutz, and she is banged up and bruised up because she has had to go digging through a dilapidated spook house in the dark to find the magical sword. We don't see her go find the sword. We see her come back with a 1,000-yard stare, sort of stumbling, bumbling, pale, and shaken. I posit that she doesn't remember. I posit that she blacked out at some point while questing for the sword in the belly of the beast. That sounds a little hyperbolic, but this is like Joseph Campbell hero's journey stuff. This is by the book, by the numbers, Sienna's story arc through this one very, very long film that came out in 2 parts. I think it's another choice, and a very wise one, psychologically. I think she blacked out and only came to once she had the sword in her hand, and just then straight up went back home, the only place that's even marginally safe at this point. Because at this point in the film, there's already been the bombing, there's already been, the news has picked up the killing spree, she's already seen Art again, probably for real, at least once. And I think it just got too much for her, and her brain shut down until she was back home safe. And again, I think that was a very savvy psychological thing that if they had laid it out explicitly, I don't think it would have played for mainstream audiences. I really don't. Some folks would have got it. Some folks would have loved it. I think it works better this way. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about that some folks have either talked about a little or not really much. Terrifier 3 as a Christmas horror movie is a goddamn masterpiece. Art is stomping around town in the middle of Broad Avenue dressed as Santa Claus, wearing Santa's face for a beard or beard for a face, because if you don't have a beard, you're not the real Santa, the Santa whose face he stole told him earlier in the movie. Did I mention how fucking gross and grisly and awesome this was? Did I have to? It's a fucking Damien Leone film. Of course it's gross and grisly and fucked up and masterful. God, I love it. God help me. I do love it so. You're quite welcome. That's the worst George C. Scott impression you're going to run across today, this week, or probably in calendar 25. It's messed up. It's not the same extravagance of messed up that some of the set-piece sequences of Terrifier 2 were. And again, I think that just speaks to a very astute bit of filmmaking. It's gross and nasty and gnarly and unpleasant and spewing and spraying and slurping and slushing and horrible grinding sounds of pelvic bone when it needs to be. But when it doesn't need to be, it leans more into the whimsy and the dread that comes from watching somebody like, or something like, Art, capable of doing the absolutely godforsaken shit that we know him to be capable of, just clowning around, walking around with a bag over his shoulder in a Santa Claus outfit, sitting down at the mall in broad daylight, surrounded by children, freaked out by children, in one of the more relatable moments in the on-screen life of Art the Clown. A screaming horde of preschoolers descends upon you like locusts from God. And of course he's going to freak out and flip out and here, take this, take these, have a toy, have a dog, have a bomb. Sorry, spoiler. I should have put a spoiler warning in at the top because I know there is no way I thought I was going to get through this without spoilers, and I try so assiduously to avoid them. It's so much fun. It is so gleefully abhorrent. Vicky gets some screen time that she did not into because, well, she was kind of in a Hollywood lunatic asylum, full padded room situation. And, I should have looked up the actor's name, the woman who plays Vicky in all three, blowing it out of the water with that horrible, nauseating voice that she manages to pull from the depths of her larynx against the will of every more generous God. It's delicious. It is depraved. It is beautifully lit. You can see everything. Dead of night or light of day, you can see everything. The acting is phenomenal. Everybody gives 120%. They rise to the challenge of this fucking 3-hour grueling exercise of a script, and they plant the landing. Everyone does great. Not everybody has a lot to work with. It's kind of a large cast for a movie like this, but some of the characters are kind of peripheral. But still, great work by everybody. Big ass spoiler here. Give me 15 seconds. Starting now. Poor Elliot. Oh my fucking God, what a way. We don't even know how he went, and still, what a way to go. 24, 25. 15 seconds are up. Okay, spoiler gone. Hope you were fast with the mute button, because I'm fast with the talk button today, it seems. I've been looking forward to talking about this movie. I've seen this movie. This movie's been out, a year? I've seen this movie like 5 times. I'm probably going to watch it again this weekend, because thinking about doing this episode and then talking about it through the course of this episode has got my twisted little goth heart all ready to go, and I need some hot clown on Christmas action. Bring me that chainsaw, gentlemen. All right. Well, I am starting to run a little long. I love this movie, Terrifier 3. It is delicious and depraved, and I think I already used that phrasing. It is so much fun. It is so funny. The interactions between the human characters is funny. The interaction between some of the human characters and Art is hilarious. The interactions between Art and the camera around Vicky at times is very, very funny. Art's not quite fourth wall break that he does on occasion, because he just lives life in his performing state. And so sometimes he's got his back to everything that's happening behind him and reacting to it just for the sake of his own self and for us. I don't think this version of Art knows that we can see him. The one in All Hallows Eve, I have an argument that he does. And I have a whole mythology built up in my head. I think I'm right. And if I ever get it all the way figured out completely in my head and get it out there on the internet, inevitably that'll happen the week before Terrifier 4 comes out, and I'm proved completely wrong when Leone gives the backstory. I am so looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it from 3 as much as I was looking forward to 3 from 2. And I was right that time. Hell, I was right about 2 from the perspective of 1, and I didn't even like 1. But the stuff I was hearing about, and the evolution that I had seen from All Hallows Eve to Terrifier, I was like, this is only going to get better. And I was so right, ladies and gentlemen. Brethren and sistren and otheren, I was so right. Tell me what you think. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Will you ever be able to get "It's a Terrifier Christmas" out of your head any more than you were able to get "Food's a Little Funny at the Clown Cafe"? There's a reason I don't usually sing on these. I was in 4 different keys in the space of about 8 words. Go watch it. Tell them Junk Shop sent you. Stay safe out there, y'all.